Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to take a look at a new drop event that is coming to Pokémon TCG Pocket. It started this morning, and it's all around Pawmot. You want this Pawmot promo? Wonderful news! That's what this drop event is for. And I got to tell you, my 5-year-old son loves a drop event. I save all the special packs, as he calls them. We open them together. It's wonderful. So we need to have a look at the promos that are available, what we think of them, and how you can go about smashing this event and making sure you get through it nice and quickly and easily. Sound like a plan? Excellent. So let's start off, as we often do, with the promos, and we might as well start off with the Pawmot promo. This is the big one. It is a special rare or alternate art. It's the same version we've had before, same card we've had before. The only difference is now we've got lovely fancy artwork. And it is just an alternate art Pawmot. We had this Pawmot originally. It's the one that actually came around in the most recent set in Shiny Revelry, but now we've just got a better art of it. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning. It's got a really nice ability counter-attack that if it's active and damaged by an attack, it does 20 to the attacking Pokemon, but it's a stage 2 that only does 70 damage. It's not necessarily competitively viable, but oh my word, the alternate art by Rent here is absolutely stunning. Also available here, we've got ourselves a brand new Floatzel. We've had some Floatzel in TCG Pocket before. We've not had this one. This is a mechanically unique card, and we got single energy, 10 damage, but if you're attacking a Pokemon that's already got any damage on it, it does 70 damage. It's all right. 70 damage for 1 energy on a stage 1 Pokemon is fine, but realistically, you got to muck about getting the energy on there, and by the time you've evolved up into things that are going to start putting the damage on it, it's just going to be a bit of pain. Like, part of me wants to look at this and go, hang on a second. I can see this working with Darkrai, because Darkrai, you attach energy to it, it puts damage on your opponent's active, and then you can go and do 70 with this for 1 energy. Yay! But then also, by the same token, that's 2 energy attachments. So you can't do it all in one turn. And that makes it a little bit disappointing for me. The other brand new mechanically unique card we've got is the Promo Ekans. It's a brand new Ekans, completely unique mechanically from the other Ekans we've seen in the past. It is also the worst Ekans. Now, what you get here is poison for a single energy, but we've got an Ekans that came around in Genetic Apex that for a single energy does 20, which a lot of the time is going to do more than the poison when your opponent starts retreating, etc. Or we've got one with 70 HP, so you got more HP and a bit more survivability that came around in Shiny Revelry. What we don't have is any real reason to play this new Ekans. I love the card, I love the art, but no. It's the third Ekans we've had, and not to be mean, it's the worst of them. Now, we also have a couple of reprints coming around here, including a Bidoof. It's a reprint of the Bidoof that came around in Shiny Revelry, which actually, having 70 HP, does make it the best Bidoof we've got. And then we've got a reprint of Machamp, and anyone that's been playing the ordinary TCG, the original TCG, for a little while is going to look at this and go, I can't use that artwork. That is Stormfront Machamp artwork, and I'm sorry, but I don't like it being reused for Pokemon Pocket. I think there are some cards that we should be able to look at and go, that artwork is too iconic, you can't have it. Back in Stormfront, this was one of the best Pokemon cards we'd ever seen. Single energy, automatic one-hit KO on any basic Pokemon. Now it's a fairly underwhelming Machamp. And it is just, again, it's a reprint of the Machamp that came around in Shiny Revelry, so yeah. It's not a particularly good card, and frankly, I don't think they should be allowed to be using that artwork. There we go, I said it. So that's what we got in terms of promos. We've got a new Floatzel, which is fine, a new Ekans, which is the worst one we've seen, a couple of reprints in terms of Bidoof and Machamp, and then the Pawmot, which is the real star of it. I will be wanting 2 of each of these, like I always do. But we're going to be playing a bunch of lightning decks to try and win this, so how do we go about doing it? Well, I've got some ideas for you. Because actually, if we look at tournament results right now, for Pokemon TCG Pocket, one of the very best decks around is a fighting deck, and it's all built around Gallade EX. Now, it is a stage 2, which means it's going to take a couple turns to evolve up into Boo, etc. But also, it only needs 2 energy, which is frankly a win. That makes life an awful lot easier. And when you put 2 energy on there, it does very good things. We got 70 damage base, plus 20 more for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon. But you're going to be going up against stuff like Pawmot, where that's an extra 2 energy. So you're doing 110, plus 20 for weakness, that's almost a KO. And then Pikachu is going to be the big one you go up against a lot. The free energy on there means that you will actually hit 130, and that's actually a KO even without weakness. You'll get weakness, you don't even need it. Plus, you got 170 HP, which takes it out of range of a one-hit KO from a Pikachu EX. And basically, this is one of those cards where if you get it up and rolling, you will win. In this event, in this drop event, which you're going through, if you get this rolling, you will just win like every game. Wonderful. But that's a stage 2. It's going to take us a few minutes to get this dude rolling. It's going to take time to actually get there. What have we got? Well, I think we've got Hitmonlee. Now, for me personally, I really like the Hitmonlee that just does 30 for 1 energy. Although I also do acknowledge that there is a Hitmonchan that is the same card. Seriously, same HP, same weakness, same retreat, same cost, same damage. You can go Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee. I'll actually go Hitmonchan here because that is iconic base set artwork, and yet I think it's similar enough in this game that I can allow it. Not that anyone really cares what I think, but still, I'm going to allow it. Now, a lot of people do instead actually play a different Hitmonlee. That is the one that does 30 damage, but only to the bench. It's a great card. You could go for that one instead, and I don't think that would be a bad thing at all. But I do think here, when you're just trying to start taking out the active Pokemon quickly, and you're going to be hitting for weakness, I think going for the Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee that just does single energy 30 is going to be the better option here. That's my personal preference. I think that's the way to go. And that's largely the deck. I do think it's worth putting a Marshadow in here. This is a very nice card that a bunch of people have been playing in decks, in actual Pokemon Pocket competitions. And it's one of those revenge attackers. So what it does, and we got the lovely Okacheke alternate art, I'm blatantly using that one. But what we've got here is 2 energy, 40 damage. But if any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, you deal 60 more damage, which is 100. With weakness, it's 120. Oh, look at that. Yeah, this actually gets a pretty clean one-hit KO on Pikachu, and that makes me pretty gosh darn happy. So for that reason, I'm definitely going to be having a bit of a play around with this one. It's not the easiest deck because you have got to go up into a stage 2, but I do think it's very good. Here's a list I've got, and the trainer line here is very straightforward. 2 Pokeball to get your basics, 2 Pokemon Communication to get your evolutions, or better basics, 2 Professor's Research, because come on, that's every deck you get to draw 2. And then the other 4 spots are a bit more floating. You can play around if you like. I like going for Giant Cape for the survivability, and then Cyrus to drag a damaged Pokemon off the bench so that if you hit and they retreat, especially early game with something like Hitmonlee, you can bring them active. Obviously, if you play the bench hitting Hitmonlee, yeah, you can hit them and then bring them active, and that'll be even funnier. So Cyrus, I do think, is a pretty good option here. This is my list. I don't think you can change much, but Cyrus and Giant Cape could be floating spots if you wanted to give a deck a bit of your own spin. Now, we all know that there's always some challenges here in these drop events where you have to win with only 1, 2, and 3 diamond cards. You're not allowed to use EXs or any alternate arts. So might I suggest to you Rampardos, Lucario, Sudowoodo. This is a fun one. Now, essentially, your big boy here is Rampardos. Single energy, 130 damage, and if you take a KO, you got to take 50 damage back. But come on, you'll be fine. Because of weakness, you'll get a one-hit KO on Pawmot, you'll get a one-hit KO on Pikachu. This will absolutely wreck. But not only is this a stage 2, it's a stage 2 that evolves from a fossil, skull fossil here, and that means that it's even more of a pain to get into play. Plus, Skull Fossil is not a basic Pokemon, it's technically an item card, which means you can't actually go and grab it with a Pokeball. Yes, it's very annoying. So we need something in the early game, and we've got Sudowoodo. Single energy 20, but against an EX it does 50, and then we use Lucario to boost it up as well. Why are we using Sudowoodo here to do 20, when in other decks we are using Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan to do 30? Because there will be those games where Rampardos doesn't come out. And we're using Lucario to boost it up. So here, Sudowoodo can, in theory, go after Pikachu, and can go after Pikachu fast for those games where Rampardos doesn't really come out. Yes, you absolutely could swap Sudowoodo for a Hitmonchan or a Hitmonlee, and I would not be at all offended, but here, because Lucario is boosting the damage from your active, you don't want the bench hitting Hitmonlee. It has to be the active hitting Hitmonlee. That's very, very important. Here's a deck list as a whole, and it's very similar to what we saw before, but one big difference here is we haven't got room for the luxury of something like Giant Cape, because we've got to play 2 Skull Fossil, so the deck does get very, very cramped. It really is just Pokeball, Pokemon Communication, Professor's Research, which you have to play here. And then I've personally gone for 2 Cyrus because I like bringing Pokemon off the bench, but as always, if you want to do something else, those Cyrus can be floating spots. But I've got a Wassy pick for you here. My favourite deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. It is Dugtrio Marowak EX. Now, I will happily admit that this is a deck which is incredibly flippy. But it's also low energy, and if you flip well, you'll win every single game. Yes, I know that means if you flip terribly, you'll lose. This is what I'm going to use for most of the event. I adore this deck. Basically, you've got Dugtrio, single energy 40, flip a coin if heads. You're immune to any damage next turn and effects. Yay! Love this card. And then we've got Marowak here, 2 energy, 80 damage for each heads you can flip off of 2 coins. Yes, I know it's not always going to work, but I adore it. One important point about this deck, because Dugtrio is doing 40, and you will in the early game find yourself up against stuff like 70 HP Pachirisu, I do think this is a deck where you want to play Giovanni to get that extra 10 damage. So here is the deck list as a whole, and you'll see there we've got the classic Pokeball, Pokemon Communication Research. I think by now I've told you I love Cyrus. I want Giant Cape here for a bit of extra survivability. Very importantly, this takes Marowak out of range of a one-hit KO from Pikachu, so especially important here numbers-wise. And then we got Giovanni, as I said. Any of these 3 decks should do you fine. Just remember there will be those games where you have to win without EXs or anything. Good news is, I've given you one of those decks, so we're good. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this new Pawmot drop event. Have you got any decks that you would prefer to use? Let me know in the comment section. Good us! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.